So
the love of your life. You've got like four beautiful children with them, and then off they go to shack up with Grandpa Myers, man.
dude, that's what it is. That's what it is, man.
You go to you go to pick up your kids, and the door swings open, and there's Gramps just
fucking beard out and everything.
got a lot to talk about. A lot of very, very. Oh, they're probably not going to be hot takes this time, actually, because everyone is kind of not everyone. I would say like 7/10 of the folks that I've seen stuff online and wherever else probably share some of our sentiments.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I'd say 70%, maybe even more, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to share like our how we are going to describe
Mm-hmm.
some of our issues, but either way, um,
And if the folks listening don't know what we're referring to, it is David Gordon Green's concluding chapter, Halloween Ends.
yeah,
And boy, did it end.
it ended. Something
It
happened.
it
Stuff
ended a lot. It ended a lot of things.
stuff happened.
Yes,
Things
it did.
things happened. Well, some things didn't happen also. So, uh, okay, so just so we're gonna have like a billion things in our promo stuff and in the description, but just so everyone knows, this is not a spoiler free episode. There are spoilers, so if you have not watched Ends, um, we
Don't.
recommend don't uh, just don't listen. Listen afterwards.
Yeah.
So this is your warning. Um, this will include spoilers. Um, we're gonna do stuff kind of backwards on this episode, so we can kind of jump right into
Yeah.
the main discussion. So we're gonna talk about some recent listens first. What have you been listening to?
Yeah, man. So here lately, I've really just been listening to just like a lot of Rob Zombie, listening to all of his old stuff, just because, like, I don't know, man, he's got that grindhouse, like Halloween vibe going on, and they're just so easy to listen to and they're fun, and it just takes me back to a better time. And so, just been in the mood for that. And then, podcast wise, I've been listening to. Gonna plug a couple people. My buddy Mike from the Take One podcast. He had a really good interview with the co-creator and director from Pennywise, the story of it, the documentary behind Stephen King's It 1990, and that is John Campopiano that he had on his show. And I just thought it was a really good interview and a really good listen. And he gave like a lot of like stories from the pre-production process and the production process. And if you're a fan of Stephen King's It, the miniseries, Tim Curry, I think it is a must listen, and I think Mike did a really good job. So I listened to that, and then also our friend Marie from Marie Reviews Everything. She was just recently on a podcast called Not a Strong Start, and they just delve into the Blumhouse trilogy, specifically Halloween Ends, and it was cathartic. It was really like well said, and I echo pretty much everything that they had to say. And so that's kind of what I've been listening to, amongst like just some average music here and there, but that's about it.
Average music. Kevin's obviously talking about Billy Joel, but just the early stuff. Just the early stuff. 80s
Billy,
Joel.
yeah.
How are ya? We are Uptown Girl. We are California's preeminent 1980s Billy Joel cover band.
Piano Man!
What did I just say, man?
Although this has to do briefly with Ends, is that there's a song in Ends that from an artist that I'd completely forgotten about because of COVID, pretty much. Like, COVID did that like weird stuff to where it like just interjected itself in everyone's lives, and it like put a pause on a lot of stuff. Did that happen to you?
Yeah.
To where like stuff you were listening to or watching, it just either like ended or like you kind of just forgot about it. Well,
Yeah, it
In this
was.
case,
Yeah.
in this case, it was an artist, Johnny Goth. One of his songs is in Ends, and it just I was like, oh shit, I forgot about this guy, and I knew it's. I actually didn't know the song, but I heard it and I was like, God, that sounds like Johnny Goth. And
Hmm.
then sure enough, I looked after the film and it was. So been listening to his stuff. If you're into kind of like vibey music, um, it's fun to listen to. Um, been listening to man just some metal, but more like kind of like doom metal, I guess, lately. Like weird kind of like stoner doom metal. I found that I really like listening to that when I'm painting masks and stuff. Like it just gets me like kind of zoned out.
Can you give an
Um,
example of what like a doom metal band?
uh, dude, no one will know like any of the ones I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
just here. So my recommendation is go on if you use Apple Music, go on Apple Music, and there's a really good playlist called Stoner, Doom, and Sludge. And it is, I don't know if it'll,
Hell yeah! Look at that
yeah.
thing.
So check that playlist out on Apple Music. But podcast wise, yeah, I did watch, sorry, Marie, I actually fell asleep watching it, but I did watch some of that podcast that Marie was on.
Hmm.
Um, I, dude, I tried to start listening to last podcast on the left again, and I
Hmm.
never loved it before, and I still something about it, man, something about it. I just it's like very easy to get distracted when you're listening to it. Like it never like grabs me. So I tried,
I never
but
listened to that podcast before. Is it?
yeah,
Do they
it's
have a
like
YouTube show?
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
mostly paranormal stuff, like almost all
Oh,
paranormal, like
nice.
cryptid stuff. So like the stuff they talk about is cool. The stories that they like usually visit like pretty well known like haunting stories or like paranormal stories,
Hmm.
or like concepts. So but like I said, there's something about it, man. I just can't keep my attention. So
Damn.
yeah, man. But dude, I've got a pretty good gripe this week.
Let's hear it,
But
man, because I got a couple too.
okay, so you know how people, and it's kind of similar to my gripe from last time about like the thing that happened in line,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Okay,
yeah.
self checkouts, right? So they're everywhere. And there's more of them. I feel like there's starting to be like more self checkouts everywhere than there was before. Like
Yep.
now, instead of there being like six, there's like 12.
Yeah, it seems
So
like that's definitely the shift is to get people
yeah,
to just self checkout,
yeah, yeah.
and companies and businesses want to hire less employees to be
Mhm.
cashiers. Yeah, definitely.
So that's not my gripe though. My gripe is people using them. So there is literally there are buttons. Let me put it this way. There are only enough buttons to do the things that you have to do to check out, right? There's not like extra buttons to like do other stuff. Like you're not going to be able to like hack into the space station, like the International Space Station on a fucking self checkout. But people treat it that way. Like they'll get into like these screens that are like administrative screens, I guess, like for the teller. So like I don't even how does that even happen? It's like and then you're standing there and this thing's like talking to them like please go back to the main screen. Like, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I don't understand how people like all you need to do is scan your stuff and put it in a bag. All it wants you to do is scan it and place it in the bag. That's
right.
it.
I think it's because we live in such a fast paced world. People, one, are not paying attention, and two, people are just like in a rush and not focused, or even to like the most simplistic tasks. People just it's overwhelming to people, and so
Yeah. Yeah.
I see that a lot. Yeah,
Well, especially out there right now, I'm sure. But
yeah,
part, the worst part of it is when people screw something up. Like, and this is not just self checkout. When people screw something up and they like end up like on a screen. It's even like older people do it with phones too and computers. Like they'll fuck something up, but then they'll just sit there and stare at it. Like they won't say anything to ask for help. So
Yeah.
you've got like 10 people in line waiting to do the self checkout, and like someone just staring at a screen that they don't know like how they got to.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just so weird. It's so bizarre, man. It's like just turn around and be like, "Hey, I have no idea how what happened. Like, can you help me?"
Yeah.
But people will stand there for a minute, and it's just annoying.
Yeah. Definitely.
So it was annoying to me the other day because everyone I think is well aware at this point that we like Lacroix a lot. So I was stocked up on Lacroix, so I'm holding like four 12 packs of Lacroix, and I'm not kidding, like every single one of the self checkouts there was some issue going on with people. So I'm
Yeah.
just standing there shaking my head, dude.
Dude, if since we're on the topic of stores, that's annoying. And also, when you get behind like the coupon lady, it's always like a
Yeah,
middle-aged woman, and she's like got her hackles up, and she's really tense, and she's wanting to make sure that these coupons are right. And she's got like a pamphlet, like a book full of them, and you're just like, oh man, just let me get my groceries and get out of
yeah.
here. So I've run into that quite often, especially out here where there's more people and more stores. But that's a good one. That's a good
Meanwhile,
one.
she saved a total of $3.78.
If that, yeah. No thanks. I've never been a coupon guy. Maybe I should, but I'm just like, I'm just, I'm just not. Just
Yeah,
maybe one of these days.
I'm a coupon guy at Michaels because their coupons are like 50% off, and I go there to buy like brushes and stuff all the time. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but other than that, nah, not so much. I don't need to save 40 cents on my tortilla chips.
Tortillas.
Mm,
Well,
mm.
my big gripe this week. Um, Couple things. I really don't like. Man, I really don't like people that have like the really bright blue LED headlights. Really not a fan of those, man. Those like I have really sensitive eyes. And like when did we transition to like uh like God, overbearing, overpowering, bright as fuck headlights? Like I'm like when I'm trying to drive home, I have to like turn my mirrors down because it's that bright. So that's one. They're just everywhere. It's
Turn
like
them
they're
down, or you like, you gotta turn these mirrors down right now.
yeah,
I was
like I
like
have to
that.
press yeah. I
Yeah.
got to turn them down. Man, my biggest gripe it's always a people thing, man. It's and if you know me, you know how cursed I am when it comes to going to the movies and picking the exact spot in a theater where like the worst human being is going to be next to me. It happens, dude. It happens so frequently. It feels like the universe is out to get me. So I would say from the last like five theater experiences, this has happened 4 out of 5 times. But the one I'm going to talk about is I went to go see Halloween 1978 uh, last week, and it was my first time seeing it on the big screen, and was super excited. And that's a big moment, man. Like it's not just a movie that you're seeing on in theaters. Like it's it's special. It's cool. It's something that means a lot to you, and you want to be able to remember that moment. And so, um, got there early. The theater's pretty good, pretty quiet. No one's too crazy. And then, right as the previews start, these three women come in with a little kid, and they sit right next to me. And the whole time during the previews, they are just like snickering and snorting and talking. And for me, I'm the type of person like as soon as I get in the theater, I'm not talking. I just don't. I just don't talk. And long story short, they did that throughout the whole movie. They would, whenever Michael would come on screen, they would laugh. They would say things like a lot of it's like they wanted the audience to hear their commentary. So a couple times, like that's the one thing that infuriates me. I cannot fucking stand people that are that rude in a theater. Just don't go. Just don't go. Like
Yeah.
theaters are too expensive, and life is too like tense right now to be doing that. It's so rude. And so I shushed him a couple times, and it got towards the end, and it was right when Laurie falls over the staircase, and Michael comes around with the knife, and they're like, "Oh no, oh no!" Just really loud. So I shushed him again, and the woman next to me, she turns and she goes, "Stop shushing us. We've seen this movie a million times." And I could not believe she had the audacity to say that. Nor can I believe that's how her brain worked. Is like, we've all seen this movie so much. That gives me an okay. That gives me a pass to be blatantly rude to everyone in this theater that came to see this movie.
Yeah, duh.
Nobody came to this movie to hear your comments. Nobody. So I said, "Did you pay for my ticket?" And she goes, I think she said, "I'll pay for your ticket. Just stop shushing us." I said, "Just please stop talking." And so that was it. And at that point, I was just like, I was just done with going to the movies, because you almost have to go to a movie at like lunchtime on a Tuesday to avoid people like that. And like, that's how bad it's gotten. So I talked to you. I said, "Dude, it was such a bad experience. I'm so bummed. They stole this from me. They stole this experience from me." But um, they were showing Halloween 78, I think, another day. And so I ended up going back and had a much better experience, and got to really kind of soak it in. And I can't remember what I put on my story. It was what did I say? Um, Redemption, I think.
Yeah, I think you said
Redemption.
redemption.
But
We actually went on the. I guess it's a good transition. We wanted to talk about that experience because it was very impactful to both of us. Unfortunately, and I posted this in my story after I went to see it, because we went on the same day. Well, the second time you went was the same day that I went. So I
yeah,
went like in the afternoon. You went in the evening.
yeah,
Obviously, we're 3 hours apart, but um, so I'm thinking like, because Kevin like messages me like immediately after his first experience to tell me this shit, and I was like, oh god, like it's gonna be terrible. I'm gonna I'm gonna go to this theater and it's gonna be a fucking nightmare, and it's just gonna be like a bunch of people that I just don't want to be around, and it's just gonna
yeah.
ruin my experience. So I'm like anxious about it. I think I even told you that I was like super anxious, like as I was driving there.
Well, it is an anxious thing,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
going to the movies, you're always like,
This is
I'm
gonna suck.
gonna sit
Yeah.
next to some fuck, and it's gonna ruin it. That's what you're
So-
constantly thinking.
yeah, yeah, you are. So I'm thinking that the whole time, and it's like way. So I live like pretty much like right on the border of Kentucky and Indiana, and um, so like people will go back and forth in Kentucky and Indiana. So the ticket that I bought was in at this theater in total BFE, Indiana, Southern Indiana, and I was also expecting it to be like, because of where it was, like pretty rundown and old and just not well kept. And I get there and I pull in the parking lot, and I was actually messaging you as I pulled in the parking lot. And I was like, dude,
Yeah,
there's actually like a lot less cars. Then I actually it's shared. It's like a shared parking lot in this shopping complex. And then I get to like the theater side, and I'm like, actually there's no cars. So there's
yeah.
like maybe 6 cars in this parking lot.
So you're telling me
Uh,
there's a chance?
you should
Yeah,
tell me there's a chance. So I go in, and it's like pristine clean, like
hmm,
the old school confetti carpet, uh, like like black light sensitive car. You know what I mean? Like that
yeah,
stuff. There's an arcade. There's still an arcade in this theater, which is awesome. Like it's just cool. It's got like a cool nostalgic vintage feel. The bathrooms are super clean. I was like, okay, this is a good start. So I get into the theater, and there are two people. There's a guy. I'd say he's probably like mid 20s, and his mom, and they're like third row, and I'm like dead center middle. My tickets are, and I always buy multiple seats when I go see things in theaters so that people don't sit next to me.
do you really?
Yeah, I always do. Uh,
Oh,
so
damn.
so uh, so I'm like, surely there's gonna be people showing up, and there's like 20 minutes before the showing, so 20 minutes goes by, and no one else, just three people, and it was great. It was
Yeah.
the best theater experience I think I've had in years, maybe ever.
Yeah.
Um, and just seeing that film on the big screen was emotional.
Hmm.
Like it was goosebumps. It gave me goosebumps. Um,
I remember, not to interject really
no,
hard, but I
no, you're good.
remember the first thing you told me is how good of an experience it was, and you said it was like a breath of air, and
Yeah, yeah,
that's a perfect way to describe it.
it was.
Yeah.
It was. It was like expecting this horrible thing, and then experiencing it, and it being the exact opposite. So
Hmm.
really great. Um, if there, like I said in my story, if there's anywhere that you live and you can search and see if they're still showing it, please go. Like
Hmm.
it is a great experience, and it's the perfect time of year. It's the perfect movie. Like that. I mean, it's I don't even know how to describe it. I recognize things and like notice things in a movie that I've seen. I'm not even kidding, probably 300 times, maybe more. That I'd never noticed or recognized. So it just translates differently on the big screen, and it was a great experience. I had fun. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I was super stoked to hear that, man. Because you just never know. You never know. It doesn't matter what movie it is. Doesn't matter what time of the day it is. You feel like you're always kind of rolling the dice when it comes to going to the movies nowadays because of people.
yeah,
And that's such a damn shame, man. It shouldn't even. It goes without saying. You just don't talk in the theater. Get out your
no,
phone.
no, no,
But that was my experience the second time. Thankfully, it was. Dude, Halloween is so. It's just so damn good, man. It's just this cozy blanket, and we were talking about the score, and I think it's the best score in all of cinema. I think the stingers, the songs, every soundtrack, every song on that soundtrack is perfect. It
yeah,
is a lullaby for horror fans. And so hearing that through the surround sound, through the speakers, was like it did give me goosebumps. And there were like some things that I picked up on and I noticed that I haven't really noticed or felt before watching 78. And like one of them was I was like starstruck by how gorgeous Jamie Lee was
yeah.
in
She's a
that
babe.
movie. Dude, she looked so gorgeous. And there's one scene that I was like smitten over, and it was the scene where she's in the kitchen and Annie comes over and she's carving the jack-o'-lantern, and she like looks at Annie, she's like, oh, fancy. And she just looked, I don't know what it was. I don't know if the lighting was good. Um, her acting was good, and she was just like smirking. I just thought she was really beautiful in that scene. And so that stood out. And then once we get to the part where she's noticing something's wrong over at the Wallace house, and you got the music playing, you got the wind blowing, you got that Dean Cundy lighting, it just puts you in this trance and in this
Yeah,
this cool cozy moment. So that was great. But the best part about seeing that movie was afterwards when I was walking out, there was a father and his son, and they were walking in front of me, so I could kind of hear what they were saying, and the son was probably like 8 or 10 years old, but the son was talking to his dad about cool moments from that movie and what he noticed, and that is something that will stick with me for a long time because that's what makes Halloween so special. Um, it's just this timeless,
yeah,
beautiful thing that will continue to be passed on from generation to generation.
yeah.
And
It's
hearing,
a generational masterpiece. Like it's not.
yeah,
Yeah,
and just hearing that conversation and like that bonding between the father and the son is something I will always remember. It was cool.
yeah. When you messaged me about that, I was really digging it, and I think I sparked it because I had mentioned that the only two people in the theater were like I would say mid-20s guy and his mom, and I overheard them before as I was walking in, where the mom was excited because she'd seen obviously the film on TV or whatever, watched it at home, but she said, excuse me, she hadn't seen it since 78. So
Wow.
I thought that was cool. And the
That's so
son
cool.
was, they were just talking about sharing that experience with each other. And it reminded me of another favorite film of mine is the original Ghostbusters. And I got to see that with my mom in the theater in 2019. And the last time she had seen it, obviously in theaters is when it came out. And it was just cool. It was just a cool experience. I love stuff like that. That's why I love cinema, and why it bums me out that it's not as, I guess, like prominently. It's not the choice of a lot of people now. A lot of people just stay at home and stream, and I
It's
hate
just
that.
it's
Yeah.
not appreciated.
Yeah, I hate that. Like more people stay at home and stream stuff instead of going out and seeing it on the big screen, because there is
Yeah.
something special about it. It does translate differently. Like your lens when you're watching it on a big screen is different. Like I feel like you just experience it in a different way. So, just wanted to mention real quick. Uh, this is ends related, but I'm not talking about ends. It's just my theater experience. Again, I was anxious about the same shit, and I get there, and there were like a total of like 10 people the entire time, 10, 12 people in that theater. Saw it on IMAX. But I was like actively messaging Kevin as I'm sitting there because the previews come on, the whatever it is, like Nuvi or whatever, that stuff pops on, and there's background audio. There's like instrumental audio, there's like sound effects audio, stuff like that, but there's no dialogue audio. And it continues. So we're getting close. Like I know, like you can tell that we're getting close to preview starting.
Yeah.
And then the theater like half dims. And so I'm like, okay, like surely it's gonna be fixed, right? No. Previews come on and there's no dialogue audio. So
Burke's like, still not fixed, dude.
Dude, I was like, fuck this, I'm going home. So I'm starting to be like, I don't want this movie to start and me watch a portion of it with no audio before they get it fixed.
Yeah.
Like so I hear, like, I'm pretty much like dead center again, but because of like how huge the chairs are, like there's not that many seats, so I'm pretty close to like where the booth is. So I hear this like little and it's the window opening at the booth, and this girl leans out and she's like, "Can you tell me exactly what's been happening with the audio?" I was like, "Yeah, it sounds like there's a channel missing. Like there's no dialogue audio." And so then they're both on speakerphone on cell phones, and there's like obviously some representative or some tech of some company that put the audio in or put the PA in, is telling them like, oh, unplug this and reset this and blah, blah, blah. And then it turns into this like the loudest crackling sound you've ever heard in your life. Like imagine how loud IMAX theaters can get, but it's like this just pounding, like crackling sound. So people are getting ready to like leave at this point. Thank God. It's no joke. Like I can hear them still talking, and there's this guy's like, "Oh yeah, no. Put the one with the pink connector. The pink connectors go from 9 through 19." And then like 10 seconds later, it's like it was during the Black Adam preview trailer. So it just went from like dead silent to this point to like this ridiculous, loud, goofy CG action movie bullshit. And but it was great because all of a sudden we knew that everything worked. So thank God that they got it sorted out.
How does that happen? I wonder if like the previous showtime for Ends played like that. I mean,
No, there's no way, dude. There's no
you
way.
could, no, I guess not. There have
Because
been
they
too
were
many people
talking
complaining.
about, yeah, they were talking about that. Like after when I was leaving, the two people that had fixed it were I think they were like the only employees left in the theater.
Hmm.
So as we were walking out, they were doing something, and one of them was like, "Everything sound good?" And I was like, "Yeah, thanks so much, guys." And uh, I heard him, like I overheard him talking about. They were like, "Yeah, it's so weird. Like all day, it was fine." Who knows, man? Who knows? I know that they don't have any control over like
Yeah.
the everything playing. It's all on a computer. It's all pre-programmed. So, um, yeah, dude, could have been crisis averted, but
Yeah.
it could
That
have
could have
been
been.
really interesting, man. You know what time it is, don't you?
It's time, man.
It's time.
It's
It's
time.
time.
It's been 4 years since Michael Myers vanished without a trace. You came here to kill me, so do it.
All right, everybody, and that's the end of the podcast. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. So one thing that we discussed a little bit before we got on here was that we did. Well, I wanted. Actually, I don't know if Kevin wanted to do this. I don't. He might not give a shit, but I did want to share like a few thoughts that are positive. I want to share some stuff, like some observations that I enjoyed about ends
Mhm.
before I get into the nitty gritty about what I didn't. I like the opening. I actually like the opening sequence. I didn't really have any problems with it. I thought that so when I first watched the opening sequence with Corey and that whole thing, it did feel like Halloween, and it felt spooky and kind of that October air kind of feeling to me, and I
Mhm.
liked it. And I'm thinking sitting there like, okay, this is a good start. Like I kind of dig this. I didn't know where they're going to go with it, but I did enjoy the opening. I like the way it looked. I like some of the shots. I really like the shot of Corey uh, over the like hanging over the banister with the knife.
That was
Um,
very like, I know that was very blatantly like Michael Myers esque, where he's got the knife looking
mm,
over the railing, which I didn't hate. Um, and yeah, so before we move on past the opening, I want to hear, I want to kind of talk about the opening as well, but I'm gonna let you get everything out with the opening.
okay.
My bad. I just want to interject
No, no,
real
no.
quick.
You're good. You're good. I just like the way it looked.
Hmm.
Um, I, like it was a little cheese, but in a good way. Like I don't mind like where it's obvious, like it's a shot and he's turned towards the camera and he's speaking to the audience and delivers that line. You know, it's Halloween. We're gonna have some fun tonight, or whatever it
Hmm.
is. I don't mind that type of cheese, so I didn't hate that. Um, but yeah, go ahead with what you're gonna say about the opening.
Um, have a lot to say about the opening. I guess I'll start. Well, I was going to start with the whole pumpkin stuff, but that's after the cold opening. So yeah, so we're introduced to Corey, introduced to this family, this kid that he's babysitting. I didn't hate this opening. I thought it was pretty well shot. The writing was decent. The only part that I was like, there's Danny McBride. There's David Gordon Green's writing whenever the parents leave and then the kid just starts shit talking Corey. It's just it comes out of left field. Now kids suck, like kids
Hmm.
suck. So it's not it's that far fetched. A kid would say that, but it was just like he was just like "fuck you and your ugly face, babysitter." It was really jarring, and I was just like I would have appreciated more of a.
He calls him an ass. I think he calls him an ass boy or something. He called.
It was it was weird, whatever it was, and so
uh,
I hated that approach because I think the opening would have been more impactful if we cared more about this kid and Corey and what they're doing this night, and this accident still happens. I thought
Mhm.
that would have been more powerful instead of this shit kid doing shitty things. And but my favorite shot or my favorite moment in the opening is whenever Corey goes to the kitchen and we see the piece of chocolate cake and we see the knife right there. And then a few minutes later, we come back and the camera's focused on the cake, but the knife's gone.
That's gone.
I
Yeah.
thought that was probably like the most um, stuff like that, like well thought out shots like that. I really dig, and I can't really think of another shot that's similar to that in these Blumhouse films. I don't know if you
Mhm.
can, but I thought that was nice.
Dude, I have to rewatch him. I've seen 18 recently, but I haven't seen Kills since it came out. But um, I'd have to rewatch him. But more about the opening real quick. So yes, I do agree. The dialogue was weird. Um, I think maybe what they were trying to do was make it kind of similar to where he's like, okay, you're going to bed then, like how Lori is in 78 when the kids start to like kind of act up with the boogeyman stuff. And she's like, okay, off the bed with you basically. So, like she kind of gets annoyed that they won't shut up about boogeyman stuff. And then, um, I think that's what they were trying to do. So I get it. I don't think it translated the way they did it didn't really translate. So I agree. I
Yeah,
agree. The
I
dialogue was
also
weird.
I also like that they were watching John Carpenter's The Thing. I
Yeah,
thought
I
that
do.
was a good nod. I didn't mind that at all. I thought that was cool. It was a cool, like updated,
Hmm. Yeah,
version of
I
what
did like
happens with
that.
Lindsay. That was
Yeah,
nice.
I did like that. So you were I think going to talk about the title screen opening.
Hmm.
And one thing that I don't know how I didn't realize this because I usually pay attention to this stuff, but I just missed it. So the title screen, the font or the text from 18 and 78 are the same, from 81 and Kills are the same, and from Halloween 3 and Ends are the same. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of interesting. And I don't
Inter-
hate that, but
Interesting, but like, what's the point?
yeah, I
Like,
don't know.
it's like, what's the? You can say that for this entire trilogy. Like, what's the point of it? And
Yeah.
we'll get into that, but I mean, I can understand why they chose the font from Halloween 3, I guess, kinda, but still, like, it's and really, it doesn't make sense.
No. No,
I,
it doesn't. It doesn't. No, but none of this trilogy makes sense. So so one other I'll share my like one other scene that I enjoyed that I was like entertained by was the scene where Corey and Michael first encounter each other. I actually didn't hate that scene. And it's not so much I like the writing. Like I'm not vested in like how it unfolded. I just really like the way it looked.
mhm.
I like the way it was lit. I like the feel of like that like you could feel like the grimy, just like nasty sewery kind of vibe, and I thought they captured that well. And I did like the way it looked and the score. Uh, John Carpenter's score is my favorite thing about this film.
Yeah,
I mean, and,
yeah,
and it always is. I mean, the guy's a fucking genius when it comes to that. So
yeah.
yeah,
I also do want to preface this real quick. Like, Burke and I have not shared what we liked and what we hated about this movie. Like, this is the first time we've really have just taken a dive into it. So I don't really know what he's about to say. I don't know. He doesn't know what I'm about to say.
no,
So um, I can see where you're coming from with the sewer stuff. I think the cinematography was really nice in there. The lighting was nice, but ooh, man, I fucking hated everything about the sewer stuff, and I'll get to that.
well, yeah, I don't mean all the sewer stuff. I mean
No, I know.
just the that initial like encounter. I didn't hate it. I hated the man. I don't even know how to explain it. Like
Yeah.
I really liked the evil eyes thing like the reflection of the shape in the pupil. That was really cool. That was a cool shot. But um like then immediately afterwards, the lackluster like encounter with the homeless guy, like what, like it's such an odd choice to go from something that's like started to unfold and could be kind of interesting. Instead, they just made this like 10-second encounter
Yeah.
with the main characters, and then it spills over into this like bizarre encounter with a homeless guy. So,
This could be, dude. This is gonna be such a hard interview to like structure, or not interview. I'm sorry, review to structure and navigate, because there's so many like fleeting moments that are kind of cool, but then you're like sucked into the black hole of like, man,
David
fuck,
Gregory.
fuck this, man. And so I want to touch on what you just said about the evil eye stuff, and then I'm going to just kind of, I guess, continue going down about the positives and what I did like about this movie. I personally hated the fuck out of the evil eye stuff. I thought that was so cringy and so odd. Like, so Michael, when he touches you, he has these like telekinesis powers where he can like do this whole 13 ghost thing with Matthew Lillard whenever like, don't
See,
touch me, so I can see,
okay.
you're evil, and I can see, oh, I'm gonna touch you, I'm gonna let you go so you can kill for me, and I can gain this power. That is
See, I
to
think it's interpretation. Yeah, I didn't actually interpret it that way. My interpretation of that was actually that Michael literally knew about Corey Cunningham, because I mean they touch on that in 18, that Michael, that he can speak and he understands everything, and he like he observes everything, but he just chooses not to. So my interpretation of it was like that was just like a visual reference, like a um however you want to explain it. But I thought that like he recognized who Corey was because of what Corey had done with it. With
yeah.
That's how I interpreted it. Not that he like had some telekinesis power, telekinetic power.
Well, I'm just being very dramatic in my explanation.
Okay,
I,
okay.
I did see it that way, that you saw it as well, but I just think it's very rich. I think it's very rich and over the top to do to the character of Michael. I just didn't like it personally.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. So I think maybe the reason why I didn't just utterly hate it. Well, you're right. This is going to be really hard to like
It's
say.
tough, man.
So, okay, so just huge, wide ranging, like the core of ends, right? For me, didn't work because there was not enough time for them to let it work, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
If they would have done this, so first of all, if for those of you that don't know, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill's original intention for Halloween was to be an anthology. So it was supposed to be stories around uh, other stories around the basis of the story of Laurie and Michael. So like things happening, like Halloween 3, for example, stuff like that. Okay, so well, why it never happened, who knows? So if they were going to make that choice to do this, which is pretty much an anthology story,
It is.
it's
Hmm.
if they were going to make that choice, then they should have done it to fucking start with.
Yeah.
And if they did it to start with, Corey Cunningham's a really cool character. Like
Hmm.
I don't care what else happens. Really cool idea for a character. Very well acted. I mean the kid that played, I don't know how to say his name. I don't know if it's Rowan or Rohan or whatever. So that kid did a really good job with what
Yeah.
he had available to him.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
I mean, given 3 films, given a trilogy and time to develop that character and really like eat it all up, I mean, he could have been like such an impactful, like scary, cool
He
character.
he should have been Cameron. He should have been
Yeah,
that
yeah,
character that was introduced in H18, and I hate the idea of anthologies with Michael Myers. I personally hate that because I think it takes away from like the iconicness and the weight of the shape and these Halloween movies. I've just never liked the idea of anthologies and continuing Michael Myers. I just think it dilutes a lot from that character. But if they would have went this route with Corey Cunningham and introduced him at age 18, and we see this descent into madness over these three films, it would have been much more
Mhm.
receptive, and
Yeah, it would have translated.
it would have
Yeah,
translated and it would have
yeah.
been like it just would have been better.
Mhm.
I didn't hate Corey. I didn't hate his character. I didn't hate his story. I was invested. I believed a lot about his story, and I felt for him. But that is not that is not what you make the third installment of your Halloween trilogy
No.
about. There's no
So
excuse for that.
right, right. So my biggest problem with the entire trilogy, and it is like it is cornerstoned by Ann's, is that there is absolutely no cohesive anything, no cohesion at all in the David Gordon Green trilogy. There's none,
None. There's
not an
none.
ounce of it. So, like I was saying, if see, I'm not opposed to the idea of anthology stuff because the way that I think about it, like the shape is like such a larger than life character, and Michael Myers is such a larger than life character that I think like that story, the Michael Laurie story, is big enough on its own and powerful enough on its own to where it could sustain with other stories like unfolding around that story. And the thing that I told you about that the idea that I really did like initially that they fucked up because it's just like this fleeting moment of something that I thought was cool is this idea that um, it's like a sickness, like the fear of this like ambiguous thing, the shape, and this story is like this sickness that like erodes at like the core of Haddonfield and the people in it, and like people that had never even been involved with Lori or Michael were somehow so vested in this fear that they did horrible things or like were because of their fear. I thought that was cool. I don't hate that. But then it's like they talk about it for I'm not even kidding, 30 seconds and it's gone, it's over. Okay, let's move on to the next goofy thing.
Yeah.
Like why can't they just focus on one element that makes sense and would be interesting? I don't understand it.
Yeah, man, I get the social commentary in this movie. I get that evil is an infection and it can fester, and if you don't um, have the right support system, or if you're whatever, like it can consume you. And I get that message, but I don't like that message because it again to me, it takes away from what makes Michael the boogeyman. Like he's the essence of evil. And if you're saying this can happen to this person, to that person, then it's just it. I'm just gonna keep saying this word. It just dilutes the image and the legacy and the iconicness and the evilness of what makes Michael Myers so special. I don't know if that makes sense, but I didn't hate the writing in it. I didn't hate what they were trying to say, but it made me feel weird, and also they didn't follow through with it.
Yeah,
And and
that's my
so
big problem. That's
and
my
so
big problem
like
with it.
like with all of these these Blumhouse movies, and I promise we'll get back to our positives in just a second. But to me, like I don't know what you're communicating. I have no idea what the rules are or how they work. There's no rules. There's no logic to any of it. It's just stuff happening. So I'm always like perplexed at the decision making in these films.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I'm just baffled.
Uh, and you said something, and I'm going to try to think of a way to explain what I was saying in relation to it. So I guess for me, like again, it comes back to to that this stuff's kind of subjective because it's how you interpret it. Um, but I didn't really interpret it like that idea of like the evil being this like infection as like as it something as it being something that like minimizes
Hmm.
Michael, I guess. I think about it as like this. It's almost um like if you burn something, right? Like you burn something in the oven, like you have this nasty burnt up crispy thing, and you can throw it away, but the odor's there for
Yeah,
days, right?
like Lori's pie.
Yeah, like Lori's pie. Hey, good reference, man.
Hey.
Uh, so I guess that's what I don't hate that idea that like Michael is this like the core of this evil, the personification of evil, but there's this like this air about like just the whole of Haddonfield that is just like being eroded by what Michael like oozes basically. Like the what he created, what he did created this like domino of horrific fear, you know? So I think about it as being Michael. Like it never wasn't about Michael and what he did. And he just created this like I said, this domino effect of like crippling fear. And it caused all these other things. Like it causes the outcome of how Corey's experience or Corey's situation unfolds with the kid dying. So and him like they referenced it like that your monster disappeared, so now they had to find another one to take his place.
Yeah.
I don't hate that, but they just don't ever develop it. Like oh, it could have been to have a trilogy to where you grasp onto that idea that like maybe they flirt with the whole thing like well is Michael like this mythical thing or is he just a man, this an evil man, but they never actually do anything with it, they just talk about it
Yeah.
like
They just teeter.
right, the dialogue doesn't make any difference in that case, like
Yeah.
actually do something with it, make it like valuable, make it entertaining, but they don't. So
Yeah.
I don't have any more positives. Those are my two.
Okay.
The mask is cool. Um, yeah, that's it.
Um, I do see your viewpoint, and I don't hate that either. But I guess when I was watching it, whenever they were just like the shape continues to, or evil continues to take different shapes, and it just
Evil
didn't.
evil doesn't die; it just changes shape. That's the line. Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't dig it a whole lot. But that's just me. But um, that's a fair points, and I get it. Positives for me, the best part about this movie, Nick Castle. Nick Castle, his cameo, man.
Yeah, it's
Whenever he
great.
goes, where
Actually,
he's like,
it is good.
he goes, "Hey, Scarecrow, see anything you
See
like?"
anything you like? Yeah.
I wanted to applaud. That made me so happy, and his
Yeah, that
laugh was
was
really
good.
funny, and so that was great. I told him I actually just saw Nick at a convention here, and told him that, and that was cool. But
It's funny. A photo leaked of him holding one of the hero masks on a stand, like in a trailer, and
yeah, I saw that
he was wearing that
that
like shirt.
costume.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah,
like, what the fuck is this guy wearing? Because
I saw that too. I was
yeah,
like, "What is this?" But then I
it
think
was
it was like
before
the day before the movie.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I was like, God, this guy wears some weird shit. But
yeah,
uh, one more positive for me is I really loved some of the lighting. I think
yeah.
the way that they filmed the bar scene, the Halloween party bar scene was cool.
Hmm.
It was lit really, really well. I love the shot of Corey at the door after the mom like accosts him, and he's standing and he's lit blue on one side and red on the other. Um,
Hmm.
that's I was honestly that's probably that and the shot of Corey like right after the shape lets go of his neck, and he's like kind of like like got a weird angle, like holding on to the edges of like the big culvert thing. And the score, that was a cool shot. But yeah, other than that, man,
Yeah.
that's all I got as far as positives go.
Um. Yeah. Well, wrapping up my positives, I thought the cinematography was really well done. It might be the best shot out of the trilogy. I still think H18 takes the top spot for me. Thought the score was really good. And I thought that Allison and Corey were really good.
Mm-hmm.
I really believed their chemistry. I really dug that story, even though it didn't even feel like the Allison we've been following since H18. It felt like a weird, like, parallel universe Allison. Like, it just like
Mm.
this whole movie felt like a weird,
It was like a bizarro.
like bizarro Wes
Yeah.
Craven's New Nightmare. Weird. It was just
Yeah.
weird. It was just fucking weird.
That is a good
But
comparison. And I think it's interesting. I just want to say this real quick. The way that I described it as I walked out of the theater, which was probably one of the weirdest voice messages I ever sent because I was like silent through half of it, trying to like gather my thoughts. I'm walking out of the theater to my car, and I could only describe it as being like this bizarro, like if I called it a fever dream, like a Halloween themed
no,
fever dream.
that's
So
perfect. Yeah.
and Kevin actually mentioned, dude, I think I've heard other people call it that. So it's
Mhm.
just interesting. The only way that if you've seen this film, which I hope that if you're watching this, you've either seen it or you don't plan on seeing it, or you don't care. The way that I can describe it in totality is that it feels like one of those nights to where you're feeling like you're just sick as a dog and you're watching like you've got Halloween 5 on in the background and you've taken NyQuil and you pass out and you just have this weird
Yes.
like weird super involved just surreal fever dream about Halloween. That's how this movie feels.
And you feel contaminated by it, and you feel wrong for, like,
You do.
dreaming it.
Yeah.
But I really did like Allison and Corey. I thought the acting was really good. I really liked a lot of their scenes, specifically the scene when they leave the Halloween party and Allison's like, "I just see you as a person." I thought
Mm.
that was really good. I liked Corey's scene where he keeps going to get chocolate milk for some reason. He gets chocolate milk at the gas station. He like squeezes the bottle so hard it shatters. I thought that was dope. I like that. I like when Lori comes and she's like, "You want to do it, or you want me to do it?" And they slash their tires.
Mm.
That was nice. I
Yeah.
liked.
You just reminded me of something. I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Mhm.
okay, out of the trilogy, this is the best Laurie Strode we got out of the trilogy. There were fleeting moments to
Yeah,
where she felt like she was actually Laurie Strode.
yes, there were. She's the most digestible. She's the most like uh likable for sure.
Mm.
She just has some really funny, wholesome moments, even though where she's at as a character doesn't make any fucking sense
No,
because
it
at
makes
the end
no sense.
at the end of Kills, Michael just killed her daughter, killed like half the fucking town, and she is revenge thirsty and she's coming for Michael. Then all of a sudden, we flash forward 4 years later, Michael Myers is gone. No one gives a shit. There's no missing signs or like no one's looking for him, and Lori's like, "I forgive you."
Yeah,
No,
it's weird.
man.
So
No.
this also, I hate the extended cut of Kills. Absolutely fucking hate it. So I pretend it doesn't exist at all, even though I've only seen it once.
Yeah.
So it still doesn't make sense, but it makes a little bit. It's a little bit like the transition's a little bit better with the theatrical cut of Kills into
Yeah.
this, but because the theatrical cut is just the monologue and Michael standing in the window. So,
Yeah.
but it still doesn't make sense. You make a great point. The there's no cohesion. The three films don't make any sense together. Like you go from H18, which is just basically a slasher flick. That's all it is. It's a slasher movie with excuse me, with
Bless you.
like very little content otherwise. Like, and the content it does have is stupid. Like the Laurie Strode preparing for, like, wishing for the night that the shape escapes, right? That whole thing where she's like a prepper and whatever. Stupid. Um, but besides that, it's just a slasher movie. And then you get Kills, which is also just a slasher movie, but the cheesiest, like the most cheese filled, just terribly written slasher movie you could ever get, with like no heart at all. And then you have an anthology movie that is like all heart and all character based, character driven, with this new person, this new character that they inject into the story, that doesn't
Yeah.
follow along anything from its predecessor. It's just so weird, man. It's so
Well,
many weird choices.
everything contradicts itself.
Yeah.
Every second they contradict themselves. Like, um, the writing's inconsistent, the cinematography is inconsistent, the stories are inconsistent, Michael's inconsistent, what he is inconsistent. Um, that is like that is just bad fucking storytelling. That is
Hmm.
awful storytelling. Why these movies got greenlit, I will never know. Oh, well, money. But other than money, like what is the point of these movies? What is the message of these movies? There is none.
Mm, yeah.
Why was this story dug up if you don't have a story to tell? And
Yeah.
so
I
that's
agree.
how.
I agree. So other than this, there not being any cohesion at all, my biggest gripe with ends, just overall, is that they don't. If again, if they were going to do this, you needed to do it from the start. And if you're going to do it from the start, then you need to tell the audience, like, why these things are unfolding the way that they are. Don't hint at it. Like, tell us the story. Don't you can't you can't like show the audience an anthology but not tell the audience anything about the characters in it. Like, all you know about Corey is that he there was a horrible accident and he that's all you get.
Yeah.
Corey Cunningham, he's a child killer, but he's really not. It's an accident. And all you get with Lori is, okay, she's forgiven Michael, and now she's writing a book. Okay.
Oh man.
And
Yeah.
Allison's a nurse now. Like, that's all you get is Allison's a nurse, and her boss is a dick. And that's all you get. That's, I mean, those are really the only characters. Like, what's Lindsay doing? Oh, she's a bartender. Okay. It's like
Yeah.
there's nothing impactful. Corey's the most impactful character in the film, and you don't know anything about him.
Hmm.
It's just it's so annoying, and it does a disservice to the characters. Like, it does a huge disservice to Lori, first of all. Like,
Oh yeah.
and I know the focus is that the disservice it did to the shape, to Michael Myers. That's people's biggest gripe is, he's an old man, and he's, all rickety, getting beat up by a 23-year old, 4-year old, whatever. Um, but I think it does more of a disservice to Lori, because it doesn't tell her story at all.
No,
It
it's
there's
completely
Yeah,
hollow.
yeah, there is no final showdown. It's a like 2 minutes of like a pretty lackluster fight between them. And yeah, I actually, I kind of forgot about this. I think like the choreography between Jamie Lee and James Jude Courtney, and or whoever was stunt doubling for him, and her in that final fight, was, I think, probably some of the best choreography between them fighting. I think it was much better than them fighting in 18. So well done there. Um, but it's lackluster. Like, it's not like, whoa, I wasn't on the edge of my seat. I was like, okay, they're fighting. And I watched it, and what I noticed in it was the choreography being cool. Not that the actual like showdown between Laurie and Michael was cool, but that the choreography was cool. So that says something to me, if I'm noticing stuff that like should be something that I notice when I watch it for the 10th time, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm noticing it sitting in the theater. So hopefully that makes sense what I'm trying to get across. Like it's it's something that you should notice, like little small facets of the production, like if you're looking for them after you've already watched something to like to grasp onto that story, right? You shouldn't notice it as you're watching it like for the first time. Like you should be immersed in the story, not looking for like little tiny pieces of production value, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Even though that there is a decent movie in Halloween Ends somewhere, even though that maybe half the movie is interesting and I was invested, and you have a cool new anthology thing going on, there is no excuse, again, no excuse to make that the concluding chapter, the final thing that we see, that you're trying to say to one of the most beloved storylines in all of horror and in motion pictures.
Hmm.
It is a complete and shameful slap in the face to Jamie Lee Curtis's legacy and to the character of Michael Myers. Once we get to the end, to this big final battle that they've been marketing and teasing
Hmm.
forever, which in my opinion, I didn't give a shit before I even saw the battle because we already had a battle in H18, and in my opinion, that fight was way more superior and memorable and cooler, even though it was very unrealistic. Um, and so, because you introduce this new character, and that is the focal point of this swan song to the character of Laurie Strode, you don't give a shit. You don't give a shit at all about Laurie or Michael because you're so like submerged in this Corey Cunningham stuff through three-quarters of the movie. And by the time we get to Laurie's house in that final act, and Michael Myers comes in there and grabs his mask, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I guess this has to happen now. It's so weightless. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
hollow. It's so confusing. It's so unearned. It's so baffling that that is the way you're going to bring these two titans together to clash one more time. That is why H2O is so goddamn fucking good, and it's so poetic, it's so organic and natural, and it means something and it says something to where the ending of this, the way you defeat the shape is you outmaneuver him and you crucify him to a table, which that would never happen. I don't care that he's weak. I don't care. That would never happen. You throw a fridge on top of him, that's how the shape goes out, and you slit his throat. You take his mask off again, which Blumhouse loves to do. That is another major gripe I have with these Blumhouse films is like them over-humanizing the shape and taking his mask off again and again and again. I don't want to see Michael as this fucking like he reminded me of Ninja Turtles, man. It's like this crusty,
Master Splinter.
this crusty, nasty Master Splinter mixed with like a member from the band Korn with this beard. I just like that is such a sour, awful note to have burned into your brain of like the lasting quote unquote image of the shape.
Yeah, yeah. The content is bad. What I would the point my point was that, and it kind of lends itself to what you're saying, is that I was not vested in the fight being Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. I was just watching it like, oh wow, I wonder how they did that. That's that. I wonder how many takes that took to do. You know, like that was what I wasn't. I am such a huge Halloween fan and such a huge fan of. I mean, really, almost every part of the franchise, and you're presenting me the final chapter, the final fight between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, and I'm sitting there thinking about how many fucking takes it took to get this. You know, it's like I didn't recognize I was doing it until I was driving home and I thought about it and I was trying to think about the film and I thought about that moment and I was like, fuck, I wasn't even like really thinking about that was like that was it. I
Yeah.
was I was paying attention to like these like the minutia of like like how they film something. And that's so weird, man.
Yeah.
It's such a letdown. You know what? Like I can't I can't allow myself to get like eaten up by it because I just have to pretend that like these films never happen. Because if I allow myself to get eaten up by it and hate it to the point to where I like let it like dominate how I think about Halloween,
Yeah.
um, I'll just hate it even more. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You said something that was really good. I want to bring it up before I forget, but the scene where we finally get to the third act and Lori's pretending to kill herself and she like calls the police and she's like, I want to report a suicide, which doesn't make
Mhm.
sense. And then Corey is like, oh, I'm gonna get you, and she shoots him, and then Lori's basically just like, yeah, I got you, fuck you. And then Corey's kills himself. He stabbed himself in the neck. He's like, if I can't have Allison, no one can. He just slits his own throat and kills himself. And what you
Mhm.
said, that essentially is what David Gordon Green did to the franchise, where he goes, if I
Yeah.
can't have the Halloween franchise, no one
No
can.
one
He
can.
just he
Yeah.
kills it.
Another huge problem I have with ends is that some of the choices they make are so confusing. Like, and I mean like uh, in like a linear sense, they don't make sense.
Yeah.
So it jumps around a lot. Like in some parts of it, it's there. It's really good at this almost like linear progression, and then in other parts, it jumps around so much you don't even know like where you're at. So um, I thought that was really weird, and I don't know if that's maybe just like an issue with like I know they like storyboard stuff, and then or like they take the screenplay, the script, they storyboard stuff, they cut stuff out, and then stuff gets shot and doesn't get used, or does get used, and then they do final edit, like all this stuff, right? So I don't know if maybe it's just like that like the intention gets lost, like so that whatever pace or whatever progression that you have in films get lost somehow through that process. I mean,
Mhm.
don't know. We've talked about this. So I don't want to like outright say, fuck you, David Gordon Green. It's your fault that this stuff doesn't make sense, because I get that it's not just one person that creates a film, but at the same time, it's like it's the director's job to make sure that this stuff works. Like that's you direct the film. Like it's I just don't understand how something that is so important, a film that's so important, or a film series that's so important, doesn't get so much attention lent to it that it's not perfect. That's my biggest problem with the whole trilogy, but especially with this movie, because you like you said, there might even be a decent film somewhere in ends, but how do you just let it, it's almost like it, there are parts uh that are thoughtful, and then other parts that are so massively fucking stupid. Like how does that happen? I just it's so weird. Like you watch like if you watch a super thought-provoking um like intensely developed movie or film, it's that way throughout the whole film. Like you don't have a moment to where you're like, wow, I wonder why the fuck they chose to do that. Like that's weird, or like it takes you out of it.
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem with ends, is that it he throws a fucking slider when he should have just thrown a fastball. It's like it just doesn't. I don't know.
It should have been. I don't care if Halloween Ends was just a movie about Lori and looking back on her life, and a slower swan song, thoughtful movie about her and I don't know how you bring Michael back into that, because I think the time jump is weird. I think they really shot themselves in the foot multiple times throughout this trilogy. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. It feels a lot like the new Star Wars trilogy, where, it's shot really well and there's a lot of characters and there's a lot of nostalgia baiting, but what's your story?
Mhm.
Do you have a good story to tell? And if you
Yeah.
don't, then it's just going to be a slop fest like these movies
Mhm.
are, with just a bunch of exposition dumps and remember this, remember that, and it really tarnishes something that's really special. And that's my biggest problem with that. Like, yeah, Michael Myers is cool, but but he's cool for a reason. He's cool because he's the shape. He's cool because he's the boogeyman. And what they did in Kills, what they did in H18, where they overhumanize them and then they turn him into Jason Voorhees, and they do this and they do that, and it's just like, it's just a hodgepodge of stuff. And to me, that's not Halloween. None of these movies are Halloween. None of them feel like Halloween. None of them look like Halloween. None of them smell or taste like Halloween. None of them are Halloween, and it's a shame.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, One thing that I forgot to say that I was going to mention earlier in terms of like the weird time jump, like I get that COVID fucked everything up for everyone. I get it.
Sure.
Um, and that this was not like, I guess, the original, plan for when things would be filmed and stuff like that. I get it.
Right.
But you can write whatever you want. Like that shouldn't change your ability to write a story. And you can make, the best thing about movies is you can make them at whatever year or century or day or whatever you want.
Yeah.
So why choose to go this route? It's just so weird, man. It's so, so weird.
I saw an interview with David Gordon Green recently, and the interviewer was asking him about this movie and the writing, and he said there were four writers: Danny McBride, himself, and there were two other people, and they would just kind of go in different rooms, and he would be like, "You explore this corner, and you explore this corner, and let's see what we come up with." And that's what these movies feel like. It feels like different tones, and it's just clashing with each other.
Mhm.
And fuck, man, why would you ever want to do that? Why would you
I don't
ever
know.
think that's a good idea?
I want to know who the writer is that, where there were moments of grandeur in these three films for like split seconds to where I was like, hold on, wait a minute, there might be onto something here. I want to know who that was, because I feel like it was consistently the same person.
Let's talk about Michael Myers.
I mean, there's not much to talk about,
Yeah.
because you see him for a total of I was actually, fuck, I forget what it was. I think his like on screen time was like 12 minutes or something like that,
Yeah.
or maybe it was less than that. I saw it earlier.
Yeah. I want to know how you felt whenever you saw him in the sewers, vulnerable,
Oh
weak.
god.
I want to know everything.
Okay, so this is a little bit of a hot take, because I guess my opinion is confusing here. So in general, I like the idea. I like that concept of, and this is not me talking about ends. This is me talking about Michael Myers. I think part of Michael Myers is so fucking scary because he is a man. Like he's a guy. Like he's not a mythical. Like he's not Jason Voorhees, right? Um, he's not Freddy Krueger. He's not coming to you in your nightmares. Like he's a man that is just evil. And Rob Zombie, that big part of Rob Zombie's thing is that. So like he's plausible, right? He could happen. Michael Myers could happen. Um, Now in terms of ends and the Gordon Green trilogy, what I hate about Michael Myers is that he's consistently inconsistent, in that you have no idea what Michael Myers is. Is Michael Myers just a man? Sure, today he is. Oh, well, actually, maybe he's some like mystical thing. Maybe he's like more than, he's transcending just being an evil man. Oh yeah, today he is. Oh nope, he's back to just being a man. Like,
Today he has a
have
purpose. Today he
yeah,
doesn't.
have some consistency in your storytelling, have some consistency with your arguably main character or co-main character, and like just just have how hard is it to have the shape? How hard is it to emulate the shape? Like it can't be that hard. And the fact that they have such a hard time doing it's so confusing to me. Like how can you not be just squared away on what you want that character to be from the jump? Like from the first second that you put pen to paper, writing a screenplay, how do you not know exactly what the fuck Michael Myers is and what
That's your
he's about?
that's your foundation.
Yeah,
That's what you should know in and out.
yeah.
What the shape is, the rules, what can he do, what can he not do? And
And
they don't
no,
know.
they have no idea. And I like, I didn't know this until recently. I was reading about film, like I was reading about how filmmakers develop, or film writers develop stories and develop characters. And some of the best films, some of my favorite films, I didn't realize this, but the characters are written and developed. Their backstories and the developing information for them are written first before the story's even written. And I think that's interesting that some of my favorite stories are written that way,
Mhm.
um, because they are, you know, people keep retweeting or not retweeting reposting the Stephen King thing about like, oh, I liked ends because it's surprisingly character driven. Yeah, except for the fact that you don't know anything about the characters. What's the who cares that a story is character driven if you don't know anything about the characters that you're supposed to be engaged with? You know, it's just dude. So anyway, back to Myers. I've never had a moment in any Halloween, even Resurrection, to where I wanted to look away from what I was watching involving Michael Myers. Michael Myers is the most beloved. I mean, look behind me. You know, like come on. And he's like convulsing, shaky. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, okay, if he is just a man and you've told that story and you've explained the context that Michael Myers isn't something more than just an evil man and he's gotten the shit kicked out of him 8 times, stabbed in the back, like, sure, he's probably not doing too well, right? Well, then tell that story. Like, even though it's going to be hard for a lot of fans to watch and enjoy, just decide on something.
Yeah, jump in
Like,
with both feet.
right, how do you have a guy that that whole monologue at the end of Kills, he
Yeah.
gets back up after getting the shit kicked out of him, kills 10 people or however many, and then beats it, you know, fucking bashes Tommy Doyle with a bat, and then goes and kills Karen. He's just standing there fine, right? And then apparently he escapes, right? Where that okay.
Well,
What like what?
you said it so perfect, dude. Everything that you were saying, that was perfect. But like they don't know who Michael Myers is, or they just don't care. They change the rules up constantly. We don't know what the rules are. Consistently
There
inconsistent
aren't
is so
any.
perfect. There's no rules. So like yeah, like
there's
at
there's
the end
one
of Kills,
rule. It made me think of the the little Caesars commercial. There's no rules. Put your shirt back on. There's one rule.
oh
sorry,
man,
sorry, dude.
I'm trying to like think back in time and remember that commercial, but I don't. But I do like Little Caesars though. I'm not a Little
Yeah.
Caesars hater. But like at the end of Kills, like you said, well, fuck, an H18. He's just a guy. He's just a man. He has no purpose. He's not after Laurie Strode, but he is. Maybe that's the reason why he's alive. It's because of Laurie Strode. So
But then you
we're
have
told that.
Sartain. Yeah, then you have
We're,
Sartain, and he's not because you know that Sartain brings him to Lori. Not you know, it's like, what are
yeah.
you doing?
So we have that, and then in Kills, he's just this unstoppable force. He's Jason Voorhees, and the more he kills, the more he transcends, and they are hammering that fucking point home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. And so then a complete 180. And
He's a man
so
again.
at the yeah, and at the end he's shot like 7 times. He's jumped and beat up by the most pathetic, cringy looking people in Haddonfield. Um, but he kills all of them after getting shot and stabbed, and his fingers blown off, everything.
His body will come popping up in the last reel somewhere. Eyes gouged out, fingers cut off, teeth knocked out.
He kills all of them, beats the shit out of Tommy Doyle, goes and stalks and kills Karen easily,
Murder Pfizer.
murder murderfies her, and standing there like he's fucking proud of what he just did with them deep breaths at the end. Boom, Halloween Kills over. Laurie's after him. Fast forward 4 years later, and all of a sudden,
Laurie's only after him. Laurie's only after him in the extended cut.
is she? I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck, man. But fast forward fast forward 4 years, and Michael Myers is a beaten man. He's a beaten man, and he is a sewer rat now.
Beaten.
He's
You're
cousins,
damn right he is.
He's cousins with Pennywise.
Him and the Ninja Turtles have been eating pizza together. You know,
They've been chilling there. And apparently he's super weak because of getting shot so much and getting beat up, and he needs to go and just rot and die. But in order for him to gain his powers back, he has to kill.
Yeah.
But wasn't he doing that the whole time? Because the bum's like,
Yeah,
he brings people in there. Why did he let you go? Why is he weak?
Thank you for bringing that up. There's a bunch of hints to that too. You have the missing person billboard that's on the that's on that little bridge thing that Corey's walking on and that he gets thrown off of. That's intentional. You've got like I think there's actually missing posters in several scenes, but again, make up your fucking mind. If you want to make Michael Myers just be a man and you know, to where he can be beaten, like, yeah, I'm sure that he's fucking dying from, you know, a dozen bullet hole infections. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's dying from sepsis. Well, first of all, it wouldn't take 4 years, but then do that.
Yeah.
Do that. And I don't have to like that about your choice, but at least it's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah, you brought up the weird thing with where they killed Doug the cop and where he like, show me Michael. Like, that is the only dialogue from Corey that I really hated. Again, I think the character of Corey Cunningham and a lot of his dialogue and the way he delivers it is great. He does a really good job. But that is so cringe and terrible and uncharacteristic of the character and just such a weird choice. Like, even I don't even hate like where Doug's like searching with the flashlight. By the way, what the fuck is with the weird cave drawing thing of the Shape's mask?
Oh, I missed that. No, I missed it.
So yeah, when Doug's looking around with the flashlight, when he goes, "What the fuck is that?" He's looking at an etching of
Oh God,
the mask.
I completely missed it.
Yeah, and the Shape's like all huddled in the corner, and you can see like his silhouette.
I did see that, but I didn't see the cave drawing.
Which was a cool shot. Like the way they lit that with the Shape, like kind of lit. That was cool. But I don't like the idea of it. I'm just saying, like, technically it was cool.
Yeah.
But then it pans and it, like, you know, he lights Corey up with the flashlight. Corey's standing there like above him. And I like that at first it's like a silhouette, like the Shape, and then you can see it's Corey, it's not the Shape. That's fine, that's cool. But then you immediately go to Doug kicking Michael and Michael falling down and like cowering.
Oh,
and he, like,
man,
can't stand up because he's got bad knees and he's got gout and
his fingers.
You know,
he's so bad.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's so weird. It's so bad. And I was pretty much digging this movie for what it was because I knew what I was getting into before I saw this movie. So it wasn't as jarring as it was for most people that didn't know what was going to happen in this movie. So I liked everything with Corey until he meets Michael, and then once he meets Michael, and it's this weird Batman and Robin thing, and the Shape is just this pathetic embarrassment. Listen, man, I am all for some bold swings, some bold, weird swings in movies. Like, look behind me. I adore Rob Zombie's H2 because of those reasons. But I like bold, weird swings if it is confident with its direction, if it knows what it is, and it's consistent with its previous movie, with its previous installments.
It's not. None of them are.
So that's why I hate Halloween Ends, is because, sure, yeah, it takes a bold, weird swing, but for no reason. And it is so unnecessary. And when people are like, this, I see a lot of people that are encouraging fans to, well, look at Halloween Ends through a different lens. Like, it takes a bold, weird swing. I'm like, how can you encourage people to do that while simultaneously shitting on what Rob did and saying that Rob disrespected the characters? Okay, well, maybe in your opinion he did, but how can you not say the same thing for what David Gordon Green did to these movies and these characters? To me, this is far worse. What he did to the character Michael Myers is something that, oh man.
Well, because Tyler Mane, Rob Zombie's Michael Myers is not the Shape from '78.
Thank you. Like,
Yeah.
that's Rob's thing is its own thing. That's his own version of Michael Myers. That's his own version of Halloween. It is a loud, in your face rock and roll version of Halloween. David Gordon Green's movies are, again, like soap opera-y, contrived social commentary fan films with the 78 label slapped onto them. And when you are bringing back, when you were telling the Halloween fans, hey, we are going back to the roots, we are making this just like it needs to be, and you do this, that is unfucking forgivable, and that deserves a harsher punishment and criticism than anything in this franchise.
I agree. Completely agree with you. And if you tell me, hey, I like them for as noise in the background, with Michael Myers stabbing folks, cool. Whatever. You know what these one, not ends, but kills in 18 are good for? To have on a fucking TV in the background at a Halloween party. That's about it. And not even that good for that either. But that's how I view them. Like, I view them as background noise.
Yeah.
And man, you brought something up, and I'm trying to think of what it was. Oh, we were talking about it before, and I just remembered it because we're talking about like the cave dweller shit. And Corey's first encounter with the Shape, or more so the Shape's first encounter with Corey, it would have been cool. And by the way, we plan on doing an episode where we just we develop some ideas about how we would have built onto 78, and maybe a trilogy that we would have done. But we'll do that in another episode. But one of the elements that I think would have translated better and made it seem less like some weird, like, supernatural bullshit was that, like, you could have developed the Shape, like, ending up in this cave, and that he does still, like, understand things that are going on outside of his experience, like his lens. And like maybe he comes across something about Corey Cunningham and the murder of Jeremy Allen, and whatever, and just make it make sense. Like, do something for once that actually explains why something's happening. You know what I mean? Like, don't just assume that the audience understands like your goofy inside fucking joke or whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what these movies are. They're big inside. It's like a bunch of buddies get drunk and sit around and like come up with some goofy fan fiction story about Michael Myers and Laurie Strode. That's what these movies are.
They are. They are, man. How did you feel about the scene where Corey says, "You have something that I want," and he wrestles Michael Myers to the ground
Oh
and takes the
God.
mask away.
Oh God. So again, if you decided to, without, like, I'm talking unequivocally, there's not a doubt in anyone's mind, make sure it is known that Michael Myers, the Shape, is just a fucking man, and he's an old man, and he's
Hmm.
sick at this point, dying. Sure, okay, completely feasible. I get it. Do I like that Shape? No, I don't. But the way that they present Michael Myers to us and the progression of Michael Myers makes so little sense that in this movie, when that happens, you're just like, what? And then immediately followed by the Michael's patented, the way he gets up, just like he
Like,
does.
what were we supposed to like applaud that? Were we like, "Oh, there's the
Oh yeah,
Shape, cool"?
shit, yeah,
That I feel better now.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
cool.
he can lean up. Okay,
Thank
wait a minute.
God,
After
dude.
that, by the way, after that whole thing with the mask and him chasing Karen for the mask and in kills, right? When she takes the mask from him, and I've got your fucking mask, that whole thing.
Yeah, come and get it.
How then does the Shape allow that to happen after that? Like, Michael goes and kills half the town and then goes back and stabs Karen while there's like the entire police department outside. By the way, this is another piece of really bad what do they call it? Continuity in between all three of the films. H18, you've got like 800,000 sheriff deputies working in Haddonfield, right? They're
Yeah,
like all over the place.
yeah,
In Kills, you don't really have any. Like, you have a couple, right? Like, they
yeah.
can't even control like a tiny town's hospital. Like, there's like no law enforcement to be seen anywhere. And then
Right.
all of a sudden again in Ends, there's like 800,000 sheriff's deputies that work for Warren County Sheriff's Department. Like, how do
Yeah.
you just like, what on earth are you doing that you can't write something as simple as that? Like, hey guys, we got to think about like what, especially since one of the main characters is a sheriff's deputy.
Hmm.
How do you not sit down at one of the first things you do when you're developing characters in the background for the story and say, what do we want uh, this relationship to look like between the town of Haddonfield, the people, and you know where a main character works, and like obviously a big part of it in terms of like if you one of the main characters in 78 being Brackett, how is that not one of the first things that you think about? Dude, it's so
You're
crazy to me,
right, man.
man.
I
It's
don't know.
so crazy. It's because they didn't. It's because like you've said, it is
They don't know.
fan fictiony, just like I pick up a fucking candy wrapper on the ground and look at it and say, oh, this has some guys, let's use this name for a character. It's like there's no direction to it all, man.
There's not, man. There is not. Going back to Michael, you can
I forgot that. I forgot that's what we were talking
not.
about, man.
It's easy to go down spirals, man. It's
It is,
easy.
man. It is.
But you can bringing up Rob's version of Myers again. You can hate that version because he's a bum, shows his face too much. He says "die" at the end of H2, but Rob never made him
only only in the unrated one.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
He did all those things, but what Rob didn't do, the one thing he didn't do is make Michael Myers a pussy. And David Gordon Green made Myers an embarrassment, a abomination
Mm-hmm.
of what of what that character should never ever be. You should never see Michael. He is the personification of evil. He's evil. And
Yeah.
seeing him tremble, seeing him vulnerable, seeing him getting manhandled by a kid that gets bullied and beat up by band members.
Oh
Seeing
my
him,
god, dude, I
seeing,
forgot. We need to talk about that, but yeah, go ahead.
seeing him get assisted in killing somebody and then convulsing because he's gaining his evil, making his
He's gaining his evil. Oh my god, that is the
he's recharging, having him grab somebody and notice his evil or pass on his evil, and then acting like he's some dog waiting for Corey Cunningham to bring him his
Mm.
next meal or bring him whatever. um Holy shit. I don't ever, and this was the first thing I said when I left the movie. I said, I don't ever want to hear anyone ever say that Rob Zombie ruined the image of Michael Myers ever again.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is, in my opinion, this is far worse than Resurrection. This is the lowest of the low, and
Yeah.
this needs to be pushed to the back of, like, the back cellar, back in the abyss of the Halloween corner, and forgotten.
The dumbest again. They've got to just inject the dumbest fucking characters over and over again in these three movies.
Mm.
In what world, anywhere, I want anyone, and don't be offended if you were in band, because I knew people in high school that were in band, whatever,
Yeah.
cool people. But in what fucking universe, in anywhere on Earth, are there any people in fucking band that are these like hardcore bullies that are out here like, hey, I got a New York accent. I'm over here. Give me some beer, buddy. Oh, what are you, some type of psychopath? Like, dude, like, really? What is that? What are those characters? Why do they exist? What's their purpose? You could have done that with any characters. Like, you could have given us convincing characters that are harassing Corey Cunningham because of his past, but you gave us 4 band members from Haddonfield High that have no backstory, that are so confusing and so out of place. Like, what on earth? The only thing I liked about any of the band members was that the one got the drumstick shoved in his eye, and the other one got his mouth burned up by a welding torch. That's all I liked about those two
Yeah, I
characters.
guess I forgot. So I guess I'll be positive again. I thought the blowtorch kill was dope as
Yeah, that
fuck, and
was really
that
cool,
was
actually.
really cool. And I liked, as much as it was wrong of Corey to have the Myers mask, the scenes of him killing with it were cool. I liked all of the death, specifically the DJ at the radio station. That death was awesome. Bashing his head and then cutting his tongue off. It hits the
Yeah.
record and it's just flopping. I thought that was cool. But yeah, like, in what world are band members bullies? Like, what?
Especially like that. Like, and how are they just like coming across? Okay, how did these band members just like randomly happen across Corey Cunningham like endlessly, but no one's
Yeah,
seen
yeah,
the shape in 4 years because he's been
right.
hiding in one sewer tunnel. Like,
Yeah,
what?
and this little
What?
town,
What?
right?
Yeah, it's dude. Oh my
It's
god, there's
it's silly. It's
and,
silly.
okay. So, and I wanted to say this. I said it in a message to somebody, and which I don't even know if they read it, but they were defending a lot of stuff in ends, and I explained my views with context. I think a huge problem right now with everything, but since we're just talking about ends, is that people are bandwagon with every facet of life. So there's a lot of bandwagon haters that don't even know why they hate ends, that I don't
Mhm.
think have, like, there's no context to there's no context to their experience, their understanding of it, uh, their
Yeah.
view, their lens. And I think everything deserves context. So don't watch this and think that we're just bandwagon haters and
Mhm.
that we're just spewing all this this negativity towards this movie,
Yeah.
because everything deserves context, no matter how much I hate it, no matter how much I disagree, no matter how bad I think it is, it still deserves me to provide context as to why I think those things.
Well said. I'm gonna back that up because I feel very strongly about those comments, and I also feel very strongly that everyone um, has a right to say if they loved or hated something, and
Hmm.
they should not feel ashamed for saying that they loved or hated something. If you love this movie, then be passionate about why you loved it, and
Right, and give me
if you
context. Yeah, give me
yeah
context about it.
don't just say you loved it because it's the newest thing. It's got Michael Myers in it, and that's the cool thing to do. And so, also, like, if you hate something, can we please make it okay to hate something and not have to like everything? Like, we're in this world where we feel like if we disagree with something or if we hate something and we critique something, we feel like we are going to be looked at in a really negative way.
Hmm.
And when did it become that way to critique films and to have a higher standard for things? In a professional way, like, don't go, don't go and like threaten somebody, but also like speak from your soul and
Hmm. Yeah.
what speaks to you and what you love and what you don't love.
Right, right. And everything, I mean, again, art is subjective, filmmaking is art. And at the end of the day, if you enjoyed this film and you or the trilogy and you want to have a conversation with me or Kevin, because I think he agrees with me here
Mhm.
about why you disagree with us and why you think that these things are good and we're just missing the fucking boat for some reason, then I'm so down for that. Like, I love talking to people about that stuff. And I'm not going to attack you. I'm not going to belittle you. I'm not going to berate you with my opinion, because you just watched 2 hours of my opinion. So, but my point is, give me some context. Don't just say something's good or bad or that you hate it or love it just because you do. Like, give me like a foundation
Yeah.
as to why you feel that way about something. And then it's just, but people don't want to do that. People, it takes too much time, it takes too much energy.
Yeah.
And it.
Well, I'm going to use this quote because I heard this from I follow a YouTube channel called Dead Pit Radio. I really like those guys. They're also very like brutally honest, and I just that's really refreshing. Even if they say a lot of shit that I don't agree with, like they actually hate Rob Zombie's movies, but they provide context.
They're wrong, man. They're wrong. They're wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But one of the guys was saying the other night, he said, um, movies is what stirs the emotions, and the emotions are what moves us forward in life. And if you relate to something in these movies, if it helps you in some way, if you get something out of it, then that's what it's about. And that's something that's worth having a conversation over. And my biggest issue with these movies is that there's just no message. There's nothing to resonate with. There's nothing to enjoy. There's nothing to like 10, 20, 30 years down the line, these movies are going to carry no meaning.
It's like disheartening for me to think about in 20 years if I happen across ends or any of these on TV or wherever, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe it's well, especially because you know people pass away, like these actors and actresses that are these larger than life people that were part of the original film and John Carpenter. I mean, none of them. What I'm getting at is they're not young. They're not young people, and to think about, like, God, like this is what they gave us as to be like this person's, like, Jamie Lee's legacy. This is what we were left with, and like she is so much more than that. She deserves something so much grander and so much more enthralling and, like, interesting. But this is what we get, and it's hard to stomach that, to think like, these people are not going to be making another Halloween film, and that, this is what we got. And that's what I got. That's what my generation got out of
Hmm.
this franchise.
Going back to Lori and that ending, I want to talk about that as we're kind of wrapping this up. What how did you feel? How did you feel whenever they did what they did, and that's how they decided to end her story?
Um, so that being the end to the Laurie Strode saga is, like I said, it's tough to stomach that. Um, I don't really like any of it. I, it's again, it's there's so many inconsistent choices that they go with,
Yeah.
and um, the one element of it. Okay, I will say this: the one element of it that I would have loved for them to take from the beginning or to explore from the beginning was the old Lori, the bookish, smart, um, timid almost Lori. And you get like a tinge of it in ends, like the tiniest tinge of it, but then it keeps getting taken away from you. Um, like they never explore it any more than just like this tiny, just like inkling of who Laurie Strode really is.
Hmm.
Um, and like, what is with constantly using fucking monologues in these? Like,
Yeah.
I don't like. I want to see the character. I don't want to hear the character's voice. I want to see the character. Like, that's the whole point of film is you get to see things, right? Like, I think that's such a weird choice. Um, and that was like a thing that started in Kills. Like, it's just fucking weird, man. If you mean like as far as like the final sequence, the final shots, um, I had I had a pretty good idea that's what was going to happen. I don't know why. Like I wasn't spoiled. It wasn't leaked. I just felt like the final shots were going to be like those static shots of places that had, that had been uh, where scenes occurred in the film. And if Michael died, it would be silent, and if he didn't, it would be him in the mask breathing. I just like in my heart of hearts knew that that's what it was going to be, and it turned out I was right, which was really weird to me because when I watched it, it was like this surreal, just weird out of body kind of feeling. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know, man. It it felt like I watching that movie in totality, and especially the end and those final shots. I felt like I did something wrong, like
Yeah.
that nasty, like icky feeling. I felt like I'd done something wrong. I felt like I felt like I saw something I wasn't supposed to see.
I was talking to Marie about
Oh, she loved it. She loved this movie.
she does. Yeah. She loves this movie. But she pretty much said it best. She said this movie feels like I cheated on the love of my life. It gives you that icky,
Hmm.
sad, empty, sour
Yeah,
feeling that you cannot scrub off of you because
no,
of the choices that were made.
and it's almost like I know I told you that this was like probably a one watch for me,
Me too.
but you had like just like it's almost like it's just like scratching away at my brain. Like you almost have this weird drive to want to see it
Hmm.
more, and like try to piece it together to try to figure out if like maybe you're fucked up. You know what I mean? Like I mean, it's like it is. It's like when you you just gave the great example that you got from Marie of cheating on the love of your life, and to me, it's almost like the love of your life. Like you get dumped, right, and like every part of every bit of it is just like this terrible experience. Like you can't do anything but think about that experience. Like that's how I am that's how my brain is like wrapping. What am I trying to say? That's how I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Like that's how it feels to me. It feels like I got dumped, but that I didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? And like I'm all I'm doing is trying to think of like maybe I did do something wrong. Maybe it's me. You know, maybe it's not this person.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and so
Well,
it's like,
yeah, it feels like all those things, but also the love of your life is now like sleeping with and getting married to like the most disgusting person in the world. It just feel and they're gone, and you're just
yeah,
like,
Grandpa Myers.
oh,
It's
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like the
Ninja Turtle Myers. Oh,
the love of your life. You've got like four beautiful children with them, and then off they go to shack up with Grandpa Myers, man.
dude, that's what it is. That's what it is, man.
You
Oh
go to
my,
you go to pick up your kids, and the door swings open, and there's Gramps just.
fucking beard out and everything.
Oh my god, man.
Oh god.
And you're like, yeah.
And there's nothing you
Um,
can do.
yeah. Oh my god, man.
That is what it is like.
Oh, Grandpa Myers.
So for me, like there will never be a more satisfying ending than H2O. So I I I already came to terms with that. I know what my three films are. It's 78, 81, H2O. That's my timeline. That's my story.
Mm.
But I mean, you're curious. How are they going to end another clash between Michael and Laurie? And again, it was just so weightless and unnecessary. Michael Myers did not need to be in this movie at all. That and even like when they take him to well, before that, I really liked Allison's character until she comes back in the kitchen. She like snaps Michael's arm, which was really
Oh
confusing.
yeah, like
That was
what?
weird. And she's like, I'm not gonna let this happen to you again. After she was just like so mad with Lori. The dialogue got
Also,
really weird again at the end.
I'm not gonna let. Yeah, what is she talking about? She never did any. Like Allison never does anything. She
I,
stabs him in the arm and saves her mom like an 18, but she never
yeah.
does anything.
Yeah, man,
Like
that was
what,
weird. That
dude?
was
Yeah.
weird. And oh, I cannot unsee when Lori pulls the mask off and Grandpa Myers is just like,
Mm.
it's so
Uh,
it's so
uh,
bad. And go ahead, go ahead.
shit. What was I gonna say? Uh, oh my
Oh
god.
man.
Can you do you think in post you can edit? I want the whole thing to be Gramp. Like I want him to be like doing the weird thing on the bottom. Like, can you do that? You think you can do that?
What weird thing? Which one?
Like
There's so
when he's
many.
like decrepit in the cave, like
When
he's
he's
all
just
like,
like he's like
can you
yeah.
just make that loop like on the bottom, like underneath us?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I
like
got you.
okay, cool, man, awesome. Thanks,
Yeah.
appreciate that, dude. For real, what I was really gonna say was, I agree, Allison. I really liked like the chemistry between Allison and Corey throughout the film, um, except for the last scene. Like I hated the way that like Allison encounters Corey after he stabs himself in the neck. I will say that I didn't expect, and I don't know why I didn't expect this, but I didn't when he first said that to Lori in the house, like the mansion where Jeremy Allen died. I didn't think he meant. I thought he meant that he was gonna basically lead Michael to Allison to kill Allison. I didn't think it meant that.
Oh.
I didn't think that. So when he stabs himself in the neck, I was like, "What?" Uh, so yeah, but I hate their encounter at the end. I think it's just
Yeah.
stupid, man. I just don't. I don't know. I don't get
Well,
it.
Corey's descent into madness and what makes him finally snap and kill people didn't make any sense. Like I like the build up to it, but once we get to that place, I was like, well, that's not believable. And then also Lori seeing the evil in him like that was like really quick and
right. Again,
not believable.
if you did this across 3 films,
Yeah,
it could have translated. It could have made sense.
yeah,
And like I said initially, like an hour ago, the whole thing with like the fear that was created that is just like festered in Haddonfield because of this relationship between Michael and Lori, has like caused all these people to do things like unreasonable things that they normally otherwise would have never done. That could have been cool too,
yeah.
but it would have taken 3 films to do. But yeah, you said something. You said something, and now I'm trying to think what it was. Shit, dude.
You said something.
Okay, so one thing that's funny to me, where I just like, dude, I had to do a Michael like head nod thing watching it. So Corey stabs himself in the neck. He's bleeding out. Allison opens the door, and there's Lori with the knife. She drops the knife, and she's like, Corey's just gushing blood out of his neck. What does Allison do? She goes outside and she gets in her car and fucking leaves.
She just leaves.
I was like,
yeah.
What?
Where's she going? Is she going to get help?
Where's she going, man? Yeah, she was just on her phone. And then her phone rings. Then her phone rings, and then it's like a dude.
There was a reported suicide at Lori's house, which, like, did I miss something? What was the point of that?
I think to like trick Corey into thinking that she was going to kill herself.
No, I know, but she called the police to report it. So when the police show up and there's no suicide, like, what was the motive? What was the point?
Oh yeah, I don't know. Maybe just to get him there. Fuck, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Oh yeah, maybe. But that was weird, and also like Allison wanting to leave Haddonfield after knowing Corey for 2.5 days was weird. I get she's damaged, and her fucking parents are dead. But like this is Corey fucking Cunningham. Even though he's sweet and he's nice and he's misunderstood, and you're connecting and you're bonding over like you being so isolated and trauma. I get that, but that is not believable. And Allison, like, they did her wrong in this movie. They did her wrong in this series. And Andy Matichek's such a good actress, and she could have been written a lot better.
Is that how you say her name? I've never known that's how you.
Andy Matichek.
That's
fucking Earl Grey Matichek. Yeah,
Matichek. That's an interesting last name. I've never known that's how it's pronounced. I guess I've never really cared enough to fucking look.
Yeah. I thought it was Matichek for a while, but it's
Matichek.
Matichek.
Interesting. Matichek. That's Matichek's what I do when I'm making my tea. I got to make sure that it's good, you know.
I gotta Matichek that Earl Grey, man.
Dude, this has turned into quite the episode, man. I'm having a lot of fun.
It has. How did you feel about Hawkins giving Lori a basket of fucking carrots and cucumbers?
Okay, yeah, this is like, I think this is worthy of being like our final hurrah on our thoughts about Anne's.
Yeah.
But okay, first of all, the only time, and I still didn't love it, but and it was a completely useless scene, the scene in the grocery store.
Yeah, it's weird.
Really weird. But it was the only time that I didn't just like absolutely fucking hate Hawkins. So,
yeah.
But because it was like this weird, like kind of comic relief, but not really. Like the weird tension. They did a good job with the weird tension.
It's so weird. It is a weird tension.
What's his name? Well, yeah, Will Patton and Jamie Lee did a really outstanding job like creating that feeling. They did a good job in that scene. But like what is he doing? It's just like he's just cruising around like in his like corduroy blazer now, like everywhere in Haddonfield. Like, I guess he's retired now since he
I
got
don't
stabbed.
know.
It's like,
He's always made me feel weird. Like, there's a lot of people that are like, I love Will Patton. He's such a good character actor. We deserve more of Hawkins. And to me, I'm like, no, I hate that character. Why is he
no,
in the? Why is he
don't.
in these movies?
Why are you saying?
Get him away.
I gotta fix
Like,
my headphones real quick.
go ahead.
Wardrobe malfunction.
Another pointless character is Officer Hawkins. Like, what you established him as a main character, basically in Kills, and he's the reason for this baby boy
My
not
baby,
getting
someone's
not
baby boy.
not getting killed. He's an awful fucking shot.
You
He's an
know
awful
what's
shot.
You know, I have to, before I forget this, man. And I honestly can't believe that I forgot to mention this to you, just like in voice messages. But when I watched 18 semi recently, I realized that they actually mention that Hawkins stopped Loomis from shooting Michael in 78. And I never noticed that before. And I was like,
At what part?
what? When Lori first meets Sartain.
Sartain.
Yeah. I never noticed that. I never recognized that was brought up. Yeah. Interesting, right? Well, my baby is someone's baby boy.
That's someone's baby boy. Remember that one time with Ben Tramer? Yeah, I've never been on the Hawkins bandwagon. I don't hate Will Patton as a person or as an actor.
I hope not, man. He's probably a very nice man.
Sure, I'm sure he's lovely, but I just don't understand that character, and especially, honestly, it is in line with this character to do something so weird at the end. Like, sure, it's a nice, sweet moment. It's on November 1st. It's in the morning. Evil has died. Lori.
No, it didn't die. Didn't you get anything from this movie?
Or whatever.
Evil
Michael
doesn't die. Just changes shape. Kevin. God, man.
The body of Michael was dead. He's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone, and here comes Hawkins with a nice basket of carrots. Basket goes in, enjoy. And if that was me, like, that's what a nice thought, but
what a weird. Okay, what is the cherry blossom? Like, what is the whole?
Oh, I don't know.
What on earth?
I like cherry blossoms. I'd like to go.
Stupid. Like, is there something that we missed in 78? Did they talk about cherry blossoms? I've literally watched that movie. I'm not even kidding. In excess of 300 times, and I feel stupid because I feel like maybe I just missed something. Like,
I don't know, man. They must have walked past him or something.
Dude, how is that the last fucking line?
That's the last line. That is the last feeling we are left with for this final girl. Like, the final girl in horror, we are left with cherry blossoms and a veggie basket.
Tell me more about those cherry blossoms or something like that. Man, overall, last comments on it from me will be that, just in totality again, I think that I don't hate the idea that the avenue that they tried to take. They just took the turn way too late. And I keep saying to people that did like it, when I'm trying to give them context, it's just too little too late. And the choices that they made, even though it's too little too late, are just so bizarre still that I cannot get with it. And again, if they had approached this from the beginning and taken this avenue from the beginning and explored these characters in a way that honored them and that made them whole, and made them feel important and cherished and interesting, then I'd be all in for it. Like, even if I don't agree with the choices, at least make them good choices. You know what I mean? Like, and just because I don't agree with something doesn't make it good or bad. Like, you can have a great choice and I still might not like it, but at least it's a good choice, right? Yeah. So in all, I have to treat this trilogy as something that is just completely disconnected from the rest of the Halloween universe, and especially
Yeah.
from '78. And I'm fine with that. I'm content with '78 just being its own thing. Like I can watch '78. I talked to Marie about this. I can watch '78, and I don't even need to think about '81 or H2O or any. I could watch '78 and just be completely content with it being one story and that's it.
Which is what it was always meant to be.
Yeah. So,
But same
um, yeah.
for me, I have a paragraph, and a lot of it I've already said, but I'm just going to read it because that's how I wholeheartedly feel about these three films. Overall thoughts: perplexed, angry, baffled, embarrassed, sad, but not surprised. What was the point of these films? Besides money, what was the message for these films? The Blumhouse Halloween installments are a series of films that are directionless, meaningless, hollow, baffling, embarrassing, and disrespectful movies slapped with a 78 label that cherry picks and copies certain moments and beats from previous Halloween installments in a cheaper, lesser way. This did not need to be made. It does not provide anything interesting or new to the mythology and legacy of the most beloved franchise and storyline in all of horror and motion pictures. A bloated, sloppy, incohesive, overly produced, and contrived trilogy consisting of exposition dumps, nostalgia baiting, and social commentary that tarnishes a legacy. A cesspool of bad filmmaking decisions, and I'm glad they're over.
There it is.
There it
What more
is.
needs to be said? That's it. It's over.
Yeah.
But, with that being said, evil doesn't die, Kevin.
It just changes shape,
changes
man.
shape, man.
I get it. I fucking get it.
All right.
Oh,
So I don't want to
God.
end it on that. I don't want to end it. That was very impactful. Well said, man. And
Thanks, man.
I'm glad that you spent time, putting your thoughts into something like cohesive. So we already did gripes. How about like what are you planning on doing for the remainder of spooky season?
Ooh, man. Well, I got to drive back across the country, so that's coming up. But other than that, man, I'm just looking forward to spending time with my family, and excited to see my nephew in a couple weeks, and we're gonna go to the pumpkin patch. Um, I just miss North Carolina weather.
Mm-hmm.
I miss the fall. I miss the foliage. I miss that chill in the air. It's just different out here, man. I'm just ready to get back for that. So we're gonna go pick pumpkins and watch scary movies and eat junk food, and so that's what I'm really looking forward to.
Hell yeah, dude. I don't know if you know this, but there's like a huge cold front that's about to
Oh hell yeah!
come down, so it's going to be pretty chilly. So I'm looking forward to just some bonfires.
Yeah, yeah,
Supposed to be going to there's like a huge jack-o'-lantern thing here that's like I'm not even kidding, like thousands of jack-o'-lanterns like in the woods that are just like everywhere. Planning on going to that maybe more than once. Yeah, other than that, man, just watching horror movies, getting cozy, painting masks, and I think I've got. I decided finally that I'm not going to be selling any ends masks.
yeah.
I was just overwhelmed by Kills masks last year, and I wasn't even like doing as many as a lot of people, so I don't know how they sustain like normal lives doing that. But um, I've got to keep it as something that like just brings me joy and like de-stresses me. So
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just I snagged one more to do now that Ends was out and we've got a bunch of reference photos. I'm going to do one like as screen accurate as possible, which is something that I've never really done on a mask. So I'm going to try to do that. And yeah, man, just watch my all-time favorites, the heavy hitters, and probably watch just 78 another fucking 10 times.
Fuck yeah, man.
And yeah, man. Oh, I wanted you to mention real quick about Idle Hands, like, and how fucking cool
Yeah.
that theater was.
Yeah, so I went to a theater here in LA called Brain Dead Studios, and I cannot recommend that place enough. The people working there are fantastic. Good food and great surround sound, great image quality. One of the best theater experiences I've ever had. Burke and I fucking love the fuck out of Idle Hands. It's my favorite horror comedy. And checked that out last night, and I was just smiling the whole time. That movie's so fun. So fun.
It's great, man.
Great soundtrack. And I had a hell of a time. And one thing I want to touch on real quick, jumping back into the Halloween stuff before we kind of wrap this up, is that just because I shat all over these movies, that is not a personal shot at the people that work their ass off to make them. Art is subjective. Filmmaking's hard. And, criticism comes with art. And so these films are not for me, but that doesn't mean I hate the people that made them or wish anything bad on them. I just don't dig these movies. I feel like that needed to be said.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo everything Kevin said. Real quick before I forget, I wanted to say I forgot to shout out the movie theater that I went to, but it's Rave New Albany. So Rave Cinemas. You did it. That everyone that like manages that theater that I went to see 78, outstanding. Like everyone deserves props that work there and take care of that place. But anyway, getting back to what you just said, completely echo that. And congratulations to the enormity of the success that the people that were involved in these films have had. And like you said, filmmaking is hard. And although I don't agree with the routes that were taken and the things that were done and the story that was told, it doesn't mean that people didn't work their asses off, and that people can be proud of something regardless of how everyone else feels about it. So I'm sure that the people involved are very proud, and that doesn't have to say anything about like the product either. I mean, just their action with whatever way they were involved, they should be proud of it. And yeah, so now we get to see, now that is over, we get to see what David Gordon Green does with another beloved film of yours.
Yes, we will.
Hey man, watch it just fucking blow your mind, dude.
It might, man. I mean, different. Oh, well, no, it's still Blumhouse. Never mind.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's gonna.
Never mind.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. But The Exorcist should never be remade.
No, it shouldn't.
That's my thoughts.
Facts, big facts, dude. Well, everyone, thanks for listening. I know that it was a tough one to listen to, but yeah, thanks for joining us, and look forward to the next one.
Thanks, guys.
All right, see you.